Hello, I'm Toycat, and the Spear's enchantability is perhaps its best ability, and we're going to be seeing a lot more of this as a result. But what makes it so good, and what terrible downside are all of these videos hiding? Because there is one. Also, when is this coming to Bedrock, and what was inside Mojang's huge movie announcement? Let's answer all of those questions today. And let's start with the Spear, which, by the way, I did mention had an enchantment yesterday, and it sounds kind of like a useful one to be able to move towards your target, but one of the mistakes that I made in my first read, and that maybe you did too, is the fact that it sounds like it would only work if you're charging towards an enemy, but this is mistaken, and actually the Spear's lunge enchantment, that comes in 3 varieties by the way, works whether or not you're looking at an enemy like this, but whether you're looking at anything, it will still work. There is no real requirements for how you're standing. It basically is the Riptide ability from the Trident, but you can use it anytime you like. This means that if I want to do some parkour, I can do that. And if we have lunge free, we can do this to a pretty silly degree. Oh wow, we actually went too far there. If you have lunge free on your tools, you can do this to a really ridiculous degree, unless you're in the water, but still, absolutely incredible if you ask me what we can do with this. And so as a result, lunge parkour is going to happen. That's what it sounds like on the surface, and honestly, this is one of those cases where the wooden spear would be the best, but there's one critical thing that all of these videos, even this one by David Dwitty, looks so cool. There's one thing all of these videos are missing, and it is the downside of the lunge enchantment. So the lunge enchantment doesn't require an enemy, whether that's a mistake or intentional, we'll just say that it doesn't, but it does have one crucial downside, and it's the huge drain on your durability. This is a wooden spear with lunge free. I just enchanted it all the way to the max, spending 30 levels, let's say, and what happens when I try to lunge with this? Well, here's what happens. I go, and it immediately vanishes. Oh, is that a weird thing you did, Toycat? Nope, that is the wooden spear being gone after one use. If we put lunge free and unbreaking on our wooden spear, to remind you, this is the spear with the highest attack speed, then you can see that we can use it once, we can use it twice, and then our spear is entirely gone. And so as a result, if you want to use it more than thrice, you're going to need a diamond or netherite spear. But even then, let's use the highest level spear we've got, lunge free on a diamond spear without unbreaking on. It's going to look like this every time we use it. At netherite level, just to remind you, this is when we put the serious stuff into it, a netherite ingot and an upgrade template, we still use up a noticeable, a visible percent of our durability bar, which is why lunge free is really, really cool and is going to be really, really useful for people who value mobility over everything else. Seriously, when you're using up a netherite spear in that many uses, was that like 5 or 6 from halfway, so maybe 12 in total, that means that unless you have unbreaking and mending and a serious source of XP, you're probably not going to be doing this in survival. Is that intentional? It's hard to say, but for now, this represents a ridiculous downside and is one of the big reasons why I'm doubling down on my opinion that the spear is deliberately worse than it needs to be so that Mojang can buff it later, rather than having to do what they did with the mace, where they made it worse and worse and worse as people complained it was more and more overpowered, because ultimately the mace's best ability is something you can only do with this ridiculously slow attack speed, 0.6, and which you can only do after going to 4 trial chambers, combining the books together and then putting it on a mace. It's super cool, but it's just super, super rare. And so, yeah, is the spear going to go there? Hopefully not. So what are the real enchantments of benefit? What are the real benefits of enchanting your spear? I think I would like to say that my favorite one personally is the fact that unlike the mace and the trident, which neither of these can accept sharpness or looting, or knockback even, which is kind of crazy to me. I feel like a mace would make perfect sense with knockback, but none of these tools can enchant any of these things, and they're all pretty basic standard enchantments, but because the trident is a, it's a tiered weapon, it's just like a sword, but different, it can actually accept all of these. Knockback on the spear? Heck yeah, you can go for that if you want to. Do you want to go for sharpness on your spear? Heck yeah, let's bring that up to 9 damage. Do you want to have looting on your spear so it can actually be your day-to-day weapon? Heck yeah, you can do that, and that is what I love so much about this as a weapon. You can have the most ridiculously kitted out weapon that's useful for these niche edge case scenarios, while also being decent day-to-day for killing zombies or creepers, and that's why I think the spear still would be useful if it stayed how it was right now. But I am sure, I can only imagine they intend to buff it, because 5 damage for a netherite weapon that will die in 12 hits if you enchant it with its unique enchantment, I feel like there's no way that's what they have in mind. but it could be that they're trying to find the weapon identity via feedback. That's what I hope, and that would be good in my opinion. So hopefully that is what's happening. Speaking of what's happening, have you noticed in these videos, it's not like my recording and it's not the spear being broken. Have you noticed that there are these random gaps in the spear? In fact, you can see them if we use even a wooden spear right here. So let's give ourselves another wooden spear. The wooden spear normally looks like... Oh, actually, it looks terrible, even unenchanted. This is apparently, it's a bug. It's called MC73186. It's existed for years, and Mojang haven't fixed it. So I just want to use this as a reminder. If you play Bedrock and you think, wow, it feels like Mojang doesn't care about us sometimes. They only care about Java. There are huge graphical issues that have existed for years on Java and haven't been fixed there too. So don't worry. It's nice to be playing Java for a few days while we wait for Bedrock, because we can see the horrible issues that are also confusingly left untouched here too. Speaking of being confusingly untouched, do you think we can hit a boat with a mace? While I try to do this, let's talk about Minecraft's new Bedrock update. Oh, you can do it on a boat. Again, the boat is my favorite mob. This is just the true fact. But speaking of true facts, a brand new Bedrock update is now available, and does it contain the spear? Well, actually no, because it's a main game update. It's called 1.21.113, and if you follow the Bedrock update hierarchy, which does need this many words to explain, it's not a major update, it's not a minor update or drop, it's not even a more minor Bedrock exclusive update, but instead is a hotfix update, and so as a result has just 4 changes, and one of those, this one to do with bundles and hoppers, is seemingly something they introduced in 1.21.111, where they accidentally, where they were trying to fix a duplication bug to do with hoppers, and so they seem to have accidentally been erasing some bundles, but that has been fixed alongside copper golem bugs and a crash, and indeed a potential crash if using the actor query and script, which some people were doing. But good news, that has now been fixed. But obviously, I think a lot more people are excited to see the spear come to Bedrock, and so when will that be? The answer is December if you're playing the main game, and if you're waiting for the previews, there was a preview earlier this week, and sadly, outside of very specific circumstances, Minecraft Bedrock does not do multiple previews in a week, and so we don't expect to see it today or tomorrow or the day after, but instead, when Minecraft says, as they did in this Instagram post, that it's coming soon to Bedrock preview and beta, that they mean the next natural time that there will be a Bedrock preview and beta, which is next Tuesday. And it's going to be hugely interesting to watch, because obviously, when weapons, combat is one of the few parts of Minecraft where they don't even claim there's any parity. Weapons that do 9 damage on Java, like the Trident, do 8 damage on Bedrock. The mace is wildly different between the platforms, and so as a result we have huge differences in combat, but this is something they're going to try to work on for the first time, because as I mentioned yesterday, the spear will have a cooldown on Bedrock. We accidentally showed a little Java annotation at that time, but this wasn't intentional, but there will in fact be a Bedrock cooldown for one of the first times on a major weapon, and so this is going to have the big knock-on effect of like, okay, do they actually intend for the weapon to have such huge damage being taken when you use lunge, or is that a bug? We'll be able to see if they've changed anything else about the combat, and indeed we'll also be able to see if they intend to maybe buff the spear, because on Bedrock, where all weapons have no cooldown, it would be insane to have a weapon that has a cooldown and then also does substantially less damage than all of its peers. So will it be buffed on Bedrock to account for the fact that it has parity with Java? There are so many big questions outside of all the other ones that I'd love to know about, like where will you be able to find certain pieces of armor, etc. I would love to know the answer to all of these, and we all will be able to next Tuesday. Speaking of things we'll be able to see in the future, Minecraft also made an Instagram post and a Twitter and every other social media saying that just this simple image, and then saying, building terrain, see you in theaters July 23rd, 2027. And so for my non-North American listeners, a theater in there is seemingly, they refer to a cinema. This is not going to be a Minecraft play, but there is in fact going to be a second Minecraft movie that you can watch in cinemas and presumably throw popcorn at the screen, as so many people want to do. But there is going to be a second movie, and even crazier, despite the fact that it was just this year that the original one released, it's going to be releasing July of 2027. That means that they presumably have things like the script finalized. That means that they're going to get it filmed and edited in that time, and that means that they were so certain about the success that they were basically ready to make the second one immediately. The Minecraft movie, just just like the Sonic movies or the Mario movies nowadays, is going to become a video game movie franchise crossover, and honestly, I'm excited. At the end of the first Minecraft movie, they had Alex kind of being teased, but they hadn't cast her yet, clearly, based on not showing her face, and in this teaser, you can see there's a netherite pickaxe, so they're clearly going to be going into the nether, and they're going to be upgrading their previously diamond tools into the craziest next tier, and honestly, this seems kind of silly, but it is actually a decent enough premise to have me invested. I assume that there's going to be Jack Black again as Steve. I assume that some of the other characters will follow through, but we're going to have to wait and see for more details over the next couple of years. But for now, just know Minecraft have a second movie. It's in the works, and honestly, it's sounding very exciting. Otherwise, though, as a summary, the spear has one of the craziest and most powerful enchantments that is also the most damaging, and it's currently only available in Snapshot, but it's likely coming to a Bedrock preview as soon as next Tuesday. This is something that will be interesting to see because it's going to have perhaps some different characteristics, as they often do. Then we have about 6 or 7 weeks left of this development cycle where they'll be adding new features we didn't see at Minecraft Live. It'll be fascinating to see what any and all of those are, and including to see if any of those were in the latest Bedrock preview. And finally, I want to end this video by saying that I am hugely interested to see the development of the spear, because the optimism right now is at its highest, as it always is when we get these first big snapshots and previews of all the new drop features. But the real test is whether the optimism and excitement holds throughout the rest of the drop cycle, and indeed the real test is how many other features they can wow us with as good as they've done here. I think that honestly, even if you don't like the spear in its current level, it's going to be fun to use, and so the question is, are they going to make it powerful enough that people want to use it? Outside of that, are people going to want to be using it for parkour? Right now the answer is no, but there's some real questions that I hope they get to the bottom of. But yeah, with that said, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I've been IBXToyCat, and you can subscribe if you want to see more of these videos. Consider becoming a channel member perhaps, and otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.